Switch accounts.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe we are live. This is the weekly podcast that covers music production news and events, including what's going on in the rock and guitar world, as well as some nerdy technical talk about computers and such that relate to what we do in our recording studio. That is Hot Pole Studios, coming to you live from Manchester, England. I'm your host Adam Steele, and joining me is Liam Wright, and this is the Hot Pole Position podcast number 26. How are you, sir?
Alive.
Yeah, me too. It's been a hell of a week, and we'll get into that very shortly. Yes, it's been quite the week for both of us, for different reasons. So,
hello to the Davids.
Hello to the Council of Davids. I'm just going to make sure that I'm not... Yeah, I am... I have extra video windows in the background. There we go. Right, on with the script. This podcast is live at 8 p.m. UK time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and now Mixer, and can be found afterwards as a podcast through iTunes, Spotify, and our own website, hotpolestudio.co.uk, where you can also see the latest videos from the YouTube channel and any social updates and what have you. Coming up tonight, we'll be talking about a plugin that sounds like cassette tape rather than typical reel-to-reel, Behringer's new thing, Sylvester Stallone's brother is making an online guitar company. Yeah, no, really, he's actually a really good.
No, I'm just laughing at how much you sound like Jeremy Clarkson right now.
Really?
You're doing a full-on
coming up tonight.
Brilliant. Yeah, exactly. I like it. Cool.
Awesome. Bareknuckle have got a new signature pickup for one of my favourite guitarists, would be a Massad. AMD have finally announced the new Threadripper as well as a 16-core Ryzen. There's an update for the Raspberry Pi 4 that makes it not melt. And finally, someone made a drum machine in Excel.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's everything we're going to be talking about tonight.
Cool.
Then onto the section of the show where we field questions from the audience about music production. So get your questions ready for about half hour, 45 minutes from now. But before we move on to the news, what's new with you this week?
New with me?
What have you been up to?
What I've been up to? I have been in the studio, in the office, working on some BD with some interesting people that I can't really say too much about, as always, secretive stuff, but it's been good fun. And basically trying to run two jobs at once, really, doing lots of video editing in the evenings into the wee hours. I think I had about 3 hours sleep. Like collectively since Sunday. Had a mini Halloween party on Saturday. Had some friends up from Cardiff, which was nice. It was fun. But just busyness of kind of working from 8 a.m. until 3 a.m. For 3 days straight. So, but I have Friday until Tuesday off now, so I can take a big break. So it's good.
Good man. It's been very similar for me. Lots and lots of hours put in recently, but all for very, very good reasons. So, the last week when we've not seen everybody. So, as anyone who saw last week's podcast will know, last week's podcast was mental and became a 2.5 hour behemoth. Where we ended up with a special guest, Mr. Warren Hewitt from Produce Like a Pro. No such special guest this week, which gives us a bit of a mental rest. But I called Warren back after that stream to talk business like you do.
It's like 1 a.m. I think you messaged me saying that you got the call.
Yep, so it was another 2.5 hours. I was on a Skype call with Warren. Let's just say we got on like a house on fire. We got on very well indeed. So we'll definitely be working together in the future. It's just a case of getting a plan together and getting all that going on. But
I know the T's and C's of getting it all sorted, but it sounds really exciting, and I think it's going to be... it's gonna be. Everyone's gonna really love it. So it's exciting to see. Have we got any ETAs on anything at all at this moment in time? Or
no, it is a project that's in the works, and it's a big project. It's a big, long time scale project. But Warren actually got back in contact with me on Tuesday just to ask if I'd thought any more about the project. which I had barely had time to do, but I had thought about it a lot, because the rest of the week was insane. Friday, was I in the studio Friday? I was in the studio Friday, I think. Briefly.
I don't know what days what anymore. You were there Saturday when Matt was there.
That's
That
right.
was Saturday. Saturday.
So Friday I did live sound at the venue where I work, and I'd been there all of half an hour. It was a very busy weekend because it was Halloween weekend, and we got a message from the band that was supposed to play on the Saturday saying we're all not very well, we're going to have to cancel. I was also full of a cold at this point, but I felt inspired, and within 30 seconds I'd called the other two members of my band and said, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow night?" They both said, "Nothing planned." So then I collared the owner of the business and was like, "Hey, we're playing tomorrow." And he's like, "Right then." So I was like, "Yeah, cool," because I hadn't seen these guys since the last time we played together, which was August Bank Holiday.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, but because we played together as a wedding band, a covers band for years, we were all professional musicians. We can just turn up and go, right? We know each other very well. It's not as if we're the kind of band where we need lots of rehearsal time, because you're expected in that kind of band to be able to even like have members who've not been there before, so you need to just be able to just go. Which is what they've been doing without me for the last few months since I stepped away from the agency they play with. Anyway, so yeah, I came in the studio after that shift on Friday, which was an hour's drive away, because I then realised that all like my wireless kit, my pedal board and everything were at the studio. Drove in on the Friday morning, so then I had my daughter all of Saturday. Then I went back, was doing live sound and playing as my own band, and then had to jump on the bar for the rest of the evening because it was so busy. And so that was exhausting. And then Sunday, what did I do Sunday? I didn't stop all day Sunday either. Can't remember what I was doing, but I was
all a blur.
All a blur. And then, oh, that's right. So I came into the studio again on Sunday to prepare everything for the sessions that I had Monday and Tuesday with Mike from Code Drums. And they went fantastically well. We've filmed enough material for 5 separate videos, so that's a lot of editing work I've got in store. And we did loads of stuff about kick drum dampening, different tom heads, different snare heads, these things that you slap on the snare that deaden it on purpose, that look really cool and kind of like targets. And so, yeah, there's all that I've been doing. I've not had time to edit a damn thing. And then yesterday, I was looking after my daughter all day, but at the same time, last night was my night off, in which case I just sat on the sofa and just went... But in the meantime, today, I found several hours whilst looking after the baby to recompile the programs that I use, because I'm now on Linux, so that it can all use graphics card acceleration for all the stream, so we don't get that horribly stuttering thing whilst we do the stream. Because, yeah, being a nerd can actually pay off.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, indeed. And yes, hi everybody in chat. The other thing, whilst all this has been going on, we had a big meeting where we decided that we're doing loads more social media stuff and we're going to change it all up. But that was just before the previous podcast. Since then, the viewership on the channel, in terms of watch time, has doubled. That's insane.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I have to say thank you to everybody who's watched the Reaper 101 tutorial. I suspect that a lot of the new viewership is from the video that Warren Hewitt and Glenn Fricker did a couple of weeks back, specifically about Reaper. And we seem to have kind of been linked together, so that video is feeding into our video and perpetual kind of continual growth. That has meant that I've not had time to finish an edit of a video to release this week, which has been a shame. But more and more and more and more material is halfway through editing now, so when it's all pretty much there, I'm going to have weeks and weeks of content to just throw out there. And that's going to be awesome. So tomorrow I'm going back into the studio to film for about 7 more videos. because I've got all this lovely equipment that I've been using for these videos with code drum heads and all this kind of stuff. And now the time has come to finish the rest of the parts of each of those videos and actually do the talking piece to camera segments to tie it all together. Now that I've got all the actual content, the recording content, if you will. Like, here's how drum mics sound on a drum kit. I've now had a professional drummer in the studio with a great sounding drum kit, which means that I've got great content to use in those videos. So now it's just a case of wrapping a lot of them up. Which, again, great for content, but it means that they're all probably not going to be released for a week or two. But when they're all ready, boom, 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 boom. It's going to be like artillery. And the channel's going to be strongly drum-focused for a couple of months, just by pure chance, because all these videos have kind of been related to that. Yeah. So, there's been so much going on this week. And yeah, I've not been getting much sleep either, but it's been worth it.
Sleep is for the weak.
Yes. Death is for the inexperienced.
I've got to say, I did have a nap just before this, though, and it was good. Good nap.
I think I had a nap yesterday. Oh no, that's right. On Tuesday, after Mike from Code had finished filming, I had to be somewhere else at 4:00, and he finished at 2. So I just lay down on the sofa, which I remember distinctly because you walked in while I was asleep, and I looked up and went, I said, "Oh, it was you."
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was showing people around the studio at the time, and I was like, "So, our producer's currently passed out on the sofa from working too hard. So we'll not disturb him. If you could just be quiet and just move around him and try to kick him whilst you look around." The 3 guys you'd never met, just like looking around the studio. It's hilarious.
I'm sure I would have been quite happy to give him a guided tour if I'd had a second.
So I'm happy to talk about fucking genie clips all day. Fucking love the story of how we built that studio. So
Excuse me.
It was a good time, so it's always fun reliving, and especially because none of them were really sort of musical. So taking them into the vocal booth and hearing them get really confused about not hearing their voice bounce off walls was quite fun. So.
Also, this week my SM7 died.
Oh no!
I'll probably be able to fix it.
Oh, okay. I've had that thing, like since the dawn of the studio. Yeah,
and it will probably carry on just fine. I reckon that in a recording session, the cable the one weak point of the SM7 is that cable. It kind of comes out and pops back in. And I think it's just been pulled and just come off one of the contacts inside. I actually opened up the main mic and couldn't see any issues. So I think the issue's just in that XLR barrel. But I need a little flathead screwdriver. I need to find one.
And then I think we could find space for a hammock. Marty said we should get a hammock. I'm down for a hammock.
Hot pole studio hammock. It's not a bad idea. Studio hammock as well. Studio hammock. So we've got branding for our audience. Yeah.
Let's do it. Make it happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing hot pole studio mugs at some point if I can find the right. So I don't want to do the whole cafe press thing, the whole white label thing, but I'll have a look at that because that'd be nice. Because I like having mugs because I drink a lot of coffee.
You do?
I do.
I do.
Although to be fair, it's gone down to 2 to 3 cups a day.
Mine's gone up to that at the moment. I managed to stay off coffee for about 3 months, but the last week I've just been like, there's no way I can get through the day without it. I had 3 today, and it feels good.
Good stuff. So, before we talk about this week's news, I want to briefly mention that this podcast is brought to you by you through Patreon. Had a new patron this week. Thank you very much. So a huge thanks to all our supporters thus far. We're trying to grow the podcast and the YouTube channel to be the full-time thing that we do, and you guys really help us to do that. We also have a Discord server where all our viewers can interact and ask questions and get support with their music production questions. And that is something that's available to everybody, but as a patron you get a special kind of access to special channels and you get a nice extra status as a nice glowing colour of a thank you. So we try and give early release to patrons of all our videos as well. like I said, I've got loads that are kind of in the edit pipeline at the moment, but once they're all ready, for the YouTube algorithm specifically, I'll have to put them out at regular intervals. But for patrons, I can just put them all up and go, hey, watch this. So anything that we've got in store, you won't have to wait for. Whereas the general public, because of the big evil YouTube algorithm, will very much have to. So, yes, thank you to all the patrons. What was I going to say there? How do I... Considering I'm such a tech nerd, sometimes it's weird. Edit invite link.
Where have you lost?
I'm looking for... There we go. I am trying to get a link to our Discord to paste in the chat. There we go.
Oh, you do. Just click on the little human with the plus sign on.
Human plus.
Hover over any of the channels. When you hover over a channel, then create invite.
Yeah, I found it. It was exactly there. I was just changing it to be not expiring and that kind of thing.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so that's now in the chat. If anyone's not currently on our Discord, jump on there. It's free. It's freely available to anybody now. So if you're interested in music tech news, get on there, give us a shout. Now, on with the next part of the show. Put that back there so you're nice and full screen. The news.
The news?
So, yes, Wavesfactory, who are not Waves, they are a different company, have made a plugin.
Easy.
What?
Just to make things easy?
Yeah, just to make things less confusing. They have made a plugin that makes your tracks sound like they've been recorded on a cassette.
Is that just like scooping some part of an EQ out of it, really?
No, there's a lot more to it. There's saturation, and apparently there's hiss. And the whole thing about tape is there's this thing called bias, where if the tape's not perfect, then you get more bass or less bass, and the high end goes weird and that kind of thing. And that can be quite nice depending on what you want to do with it. Apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but I have read that the first Strokes album, that massive one, Is This It? I think it was called. All the vocals were driven onto a cassette and then back out.
I've heard that before, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, that's how they got their signature driven, but not just amp-like distorted sound. Now, one thing is apparently it comes with loads of hiss and tape noise, which, of course, with cassettes, they did have quite a lot of noise on them, but a well-maintained hi-fi cassette machine doesn't actually produce that much noise.
Okay.
A lot of people think it is, but that's because most people own really cheap tape players. Because most of us had small budgets, because we're just normal people. And 99% of people who had a tape player I would put money on were not audiophiles. They just wanted something to hear a song on. Didn't rightly care whether it was crisp and clean and low noise or not. Especially on the terrible headphones. You remember the headphones that you got with Walkmans back in the day? The old 80s ones that were just...
Yeah, the foam sort of rings either side and then just the metal band down the middle.
Yeah, it was worse than a paper... worse than a plastic cup on a paper string. Awful. Ugh. So that's why I don't think anyone cared about hiss and that kind of thing. But yeah, with a good tape machine, you didn't actually get much of that. But it does model 4 different types of tape as well, because there were different formulations of tape. Type 1 was your kind of normal, cheap, boring. Type 2 was iron oxide, which was better. Type 3 I don't think lasted, and Type 4 was metal, which was really hi-fi but quite rare and quite expensive, and not every tape player could do things with it properly. But it can model all of them, which is quite cool. And it's got knobs for noise, artifact stability, because if you've ever experienced a slightly dodgy tape machine, they do that kind of thing. Which could be cool. I mean, if you've got a synth that sounds a bit cold in digital and you run it through this and suddenly it's got that kind of thing, could be quite a cool thing to do, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If you're going for that garage rock sort of sound.
Yeah. Or maybe if you just want like a synth wave kind of 80s-ish synth sitting in the background of your track and you want it to be a bit more old school sounding rather than perfectly clean. But you don't want to do it the traditional kind of just delay and chorus way. Yeah, it could be nice. I mean, it's apparently €29 until the 3rd of December, so for a month or so, it's a really quite reasonable price.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Moving on. There's been a teaser video by the one and only Behringer, of course.
Behringer.
Yep.
Is it another Moog of some sort?
Pretty much. Oh, did I not send you the links? 1 minute. I did not send you the links.
It's fine. I can find them with everyone else. I can be surprised.
Okay. Oh, if you're watching the stream on another screen, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I did. So yes, it's a teaser video, and it's basically apparently it's got this squelchy bass noise. Let's play a bit. Yeah. If anyone knows anything about basically 90s house music, that's the sound, and that's a 303 bass machine by Roland. And the numbers up here, 3 plus 3 plus 2, 3 times 3 plus 2. Sounds really cryptic, but that's basically just 9/11, so 9th of November, which is tomorrow, is it?
9/11?
Yeah,
Really?
the English, European. Oh, so Saturday 11, Saturday in November.
Strange choice, though. Of dates to do something.
I guess.
I know it's not the same date, but that is now synonymous with a fateful date in the world. So
maybe that's why they made it into this kind of code thing, so that you translate it as a date without thinking too hard about that association.
Maybe.
Definitely.
Sounds cool though. Anyway, sounds very 80s and cool.
Also, I'm being a complete idiot. 3 plus 3 plus 2 is 8. Yeah,
I did think. I was like, wait a minute, none of this sounds right. This all sounds wrong.
I blame this glorious glass of Malbec. Yeah.
I did think. How is anyone in the marketing department thought that was a good idea?
I was thinking, why would anyone release a product on a Saturday?
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above. Duh.
It made me think of Nightmare on Elm Street as well. I don't know why. Like that kind of 80s sort of synthy sort of sound reminds me of those 80s horror films.
Apparently you want t-shirts of just my face.
I do, yeah.
But yeah, Marty in the chat's quite right that full colour prints are actually really expensive. Maybe we could do a black and white print of my face.
Yeah. I mean, they're not too bad. I mean, there are... We could get them printed for about a tenner.
Yeah. What about if we want to sell them to the world?
Well, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like that is the cost to sell them if you were to get them like DTG printed.
Right.
We don't necessarily need to make a big profit on them. If we had people wearing Hot Pole Studios shirts around the world, I'd be like well happy with that, as long as they send a picture to our Discord so we can shout about it.
If you have a t-shirt with people with my face on it,
I would buy one and wear it on screen with pride.
You'd keep it in a drawer with immense pride.
No, I would wear it with pride. But only when I'm with you, just to really wind you up. I may actually just get one done now that I've said that. I'll Scanlon from Critical Role. He used to do that to Matt Mercer in season 1 all the time. Like every other week, he'd turn up with a picture of Matt's face as a screenshot from the show in a really unflattering pose. Just full screen print.
Oh god, and there's 400 and odd videos of me on the internet. I can't escape that. There must be enough compromising frames.
I know. I'd have so much content to do t-shirts of your face.
That's exactly what we all wanted. So, moving on. Sylvester Stallone's brother, Frank Stallone, is actually a well-known, genuine guitar player who does loads of session work. And he's been doing guitar session work since before Sylvester Stallone ever acted in anything we'd ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
So it just so happens he's one of those kind of industry guys where if you're in the industry, you're like, oh yeah, he's great. And if you're not, you're like, who? Oh, he's like Sylvester's brother. Which is kind of what I said, but they're making a new guitar company online that is online only.
Okay.
So yeah, FrankStalloneGuitars.com. And exclusive distribution online, which cuts out the retailer overhead.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it's going to go, because I'm really interested in projects like this, where it kind of looks like a PRS, but with a slightly bulbous bit on the top here. But hopefully they're really good guitars. And he was saying people don't want to pay $3 or $4 grand. Oh, so the Tiger, which is this kind of like PRS Custom 24, but slightly different.
Oh yeah.
550 quid, $700. And it looks really nice. And if it is as good as that price point says, I think I'd quite like one. Yeah.
Not bad, not bad.
Not bad at all. But yeah, I mean, I saw a little bit of the video, and I'm going to make sure it's muted. And I mean, even before he speaks, you're like, yeah, is that Sylvester Stallone's brother? Yeah, absolutely is.
Wow, yeah.
And yeah, you're just like, yeah, oh my word. The resemblance is uncanny.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, apparently he's really well known and has been doing his own thing for 40 years.
Okay.
So yeah, apparently it's been funded by a Band Together pre-order campaign, which kind of says Kickstarter to me. But if that's a thing that works for people, great. And yeah, I hope that they do well. It's South Korean built. I don't know if it's made in the World Musical Instrument Factory. Actually, it looks like a PRS Custom 24. It's got a 25-inch scale length as well, which is the PRS spec.
Okay.
If it's made in the same factory as a PRS SE range, which are made in the World Musical Instruments WMI factory in South Korea, then it could just be that they've gone, hey, we'll have those. But their business model will be quite different to PRSs, who go to all the retailers, who go through distributors, which is why PRSs are... The SEs are about 900 quid in this country, full retail price. But if he's getting that price down to 550 by not doing any of that, I think that's kind of cool. And it's very much the way that the industry is going now, is unless you can bring people to your site through being a big YouTube presence, like Andertons are a great example of that. Why are people going to go to your shop unless they live around the corner? Why are people going to go to your website over anybody else's website? Why not just go direct, because it's cheaper for the same thing? So they've gone with the other option, which is, well, if they are going to go direct for the same thing, let's do that. And I wouldn't mind betting they can get a better margin on these things whilst keeping the cost lower. Because they've got nobody to pay except for the factory. And probably a warehouse. Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay.
So, onward. One of my very favourite guitarists, who is actually Dirty Yorkshire Scum, because he's from Leeds. I'm kidding. But he lives in Brighton, so it's alright. He's escaped the Velocity. He has a new custom set of Bareknuckle pickups called the Silo, which is a name taken from his last album with Tosca, Fire by the Silos. And he's a very good guitarist, and he's got a very nice guitar tone as well, where it's very chunky, but you can hear everything he's doing.
Okay.
And so the ever-present Nolly, Mr. Adam Getgood, has been working with Bareknuckle pickups since forever. And apparently him and Rabia and the MD of Bareknuckle, Tim Mills, who I've met a few times and is a very intense but very cool person, all sat down in a room. Tim had a long conversation with Rabia beforehand about what he was looking for out of a pickup, and then turned up with about 20 different pickups and went, one of these will be what you're looking for. But this is the thing, is that typical Tim Mills, he already knew which one Rabia was going to pick, but he tried his best not to sway him any particular way and let him make his own decision. And something that I thought was really cool is that they took Rabia's main, most played guitar, which actually has gouge marks up at where your right thumb would go because he's played it that much. And they got all these pickups, which he'd wound on different coloured bobbins. So it was a blue one, a purple one, a green one, a red one. So that when they got them all mixed up on the table, at least they could keep track of which one was which. And Tim Mills, being the pickup expert, kept changing them out and then going, try this, try this, try this. And eventually he went, yeah, I like that. And Tim went, yeah, I knew you would.
Cool.
So yeah, they've now got this pickup, which is available from Bareknuckle. £139 for one, or £265 for a set.
Okay.
Yeah. And I very much like Rabia's stuff. If I was in the market for a pickup, I would probably pick his one, having heard the demos. My main Les Paul currently has Bareknuckle Juggernauts in it, which are Misha Mansour's signature. Excuse me. But I would probably lean more towards that sound. I mean, there's not that much in it, to be fair. When you get to this level, it really is about how much pepper goes in the soup rather than entirely different flavours. So I'm definitely not unhappy with what I have, and seeing as I only have limited budgets to spend on different things, I won't be rushing out and buying one.
Has my Charvel got bare knuckles in it?
No, your Charvel's got... I think they're Charvel branded. If not, they're EMGs.
I can't remember what guitar it was that had bare knuckles, because I'm with you on that as well. I do like them.
Well, Bareknuckle have only been around for 10 or 15 years. I don't think any of your guitars are... Well, actually, no, your Telly's got Bareknuckles in, because I put them in.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Your red Telecaster's got the Boot Camp True Grip pickups.
When you did that, that's when it sounded even better. Yeah, that'll be what it was.
So yes, your Telecaster's got Bareknuckles in, because I put them in.
Yeah, because the 808s are in the custom, so it's not those.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's the only guitar that I believe you have that's passive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark was asking, is that the same place that makes Chapman guitars, talking about the World Musical Instruments factory? Yes, that's that factory. The same one that makes ESP's LTD range, the one that makes PRS's SE range.
Cool.
Someone in chat saying he emailed Bareknuckle 2 months ago for a specific custom-built set. No reply. That's very, very unlike Bareknuckle, considering they make their living on custom orders. So it may well be that either it's gone to a spam filter or it's not quite gone to the right email address or something. Because that is literally how they make their living. They wouldn't ignore you.
Have you turned it off and on again?
Yeah. And companies like that, the best thing to do, call them. Talk to someone in the sales team in person. And
tell them it was 2 months. You might get a discount.
Yeah, you probably will. Yeah, because that's the kind of thing where, I mean, I have actually worked with Bareknuckle before with the pickups, the boot camps. They gave me a discount, so I am slightly biased, hands up. But anything that I've ever needed from them, I've called them or emailed them, and they've got back straight away. Not because I'm quote unquote somebody, but well before I was doing the YouTube thing. When I was a complete, as far as they were concerned, nobody. They were still getting back to me straight away. So it sounds like something's gone wrong there. So onward from guitar to Chipcount. So we've been talking about these 12-core Ryzen processors, and now the 16-core one's finally been announced and will be out November 25th. So only a few weeks from now, and that's the 16-core 32-thread one. It's $750, which is not cheap, but considering it has the literal double performance of the Intel equivalent, which is about $400 it's less than twice the price for twice the performance in one package. And it's on a kind of, what do you call it, consumer platform, which means that the motherboards are not silly expensive as well. Because that's something that a lot of people miss. If you were to go with a 16-core Ryzen or a 16-core Threadripper, the Threadripper one would cost you more money, even if the CPU cost the same, because all the motherboards are far more expensive. Because they're designed really overbuilt to handle the 64-core processors and the insane stuff, so they have to have this really hardcore chipset on them, which means that the price rockets up. Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. Although, having said that, they also announced the new Threadripper 3000 series, which has been a long, substantiated rumour that's practically just been known about by this point, but has now been thoroughly announced. There's a 24-core 48 thread one that's $1,400, and a 32-core 64 thread that's $2,000. So the price does jump up, but that's to do with, less people are going to buy that really high-end one for a start, because who needs that?
Yeah.
And actually making a processor that advanced is going to have a few failures in there, and that's partly what drives that price up as well. Which I think is fair. I mean, if I was to, for some reason, need a 32-core 64-thread processor, I'd think $2,000 was quite reasonable.
Yeah.
I'd also probably have some sort of barbecue just at the back of the computer, just so that I could roast my bratwurst whenever I like off the back of the PC. Because, gee whiz, that's going to kick out some heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, the Threadripper, the 72 lanes of PCI Gen 4, that's more than anyone's ever going to need. I don't think any of the graphics cards use PCI Express Gen 4 at all yet. And there are NVMe drives that use Gen 4, which can do, I think, 10 gigabytes a second. But you could if you divide that by 4, what's that, 18? You could have 18 NVMe drives all going full throttle at 10 gigabytes a second, or whatever stupid speed it is. And the processor would just, the whole machine would just be like, okay, cool.
Yeah, whatever, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm designed for this, bring it. All right, wow. Yeah, it's a new motherboard type with a new socket for the Threadripper, not for the Ryzen. And also, if you're interested, if you need some really, really cheap computer, just like a secondary one, they also announced the Athlon 3000G, which is kind of like, I think it must be either a dual or quad-core processor with onboard Radeon Vega graphics, and the Vega's quite nice. $49.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's already got graphics on it. It's a basic, very basic processor, but it'll go into a board that you can probably get for $30. Stick 8 gigs of RAM in there for $30. Get a cheap-ass power supply. You could have a secondary rig that's just for, I don't know, if you want to, as a studio machine, never use it for internet stuff, you could have like a Chrome machine next to you that you've paid almost nothing for, doing it that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's reasons for cheap processors like that. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting that they've designed these 180 watt fire breathing monsters, and then also way at the bottom of the scale, this tiny little cheap thing. Gotta fill out your market segment somehow, and I'll bet they'll sell thousands of those cheap ones. Thousands on thousands, because like I say, if it's $50, and it probably will outclass a top of the range 8 or 9 year old processor for that kind of money. Hey,
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And last but not least, I have not forgotten about the video that I made ages ago about the Raspberry Pi. I'm still getting to grips with some of the more technical Linux stuff, as evidenced by the fact that it took me 3 hours to compile FFmpeg and OBS today. But I'm hoping to actually get back on that horse at some point. And apparently the Raspberry Pi 4s have been struggling with very high temperatures and issues like that. And now they've come out with an update that cools the whole thing down.
Okay.
And if it's your kind of thing, also lets them boot over a network. It's not something that I particularly need, but someone might.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. It's amazing where you can see these things. Like,
Yeah.
Cinemas use them all the time for like the screens and stuff.
Yeah.
They pop up everywhere. You
So,
wouldn't realize the amount of Raspberry Pis you walk past on a daily basis that you've got no idea are there.
friend of mine needed some digital signage doing, so
Yep.
I had a bit of an experiment, and my Raspberry Pi 3, which is right here, is currently set up for digital signage. I just found an image of completely open source software through a quick bit of Googling, and it plays back images and videos up to 1080 and just cycles through them. And you stick a USB in and it just copies all the files off it, and suddenly that's your playlist of stuff. And that's it. So easy.
Yeah. And you can even obviously network them as well so that you can control it remotely. Like I've done it with people before where I've literally hosted all the stuff as mini web pages on a server. You don't even need to do that. Just host it on the machine and just make it be accessible.
Yeah.
So you can root into it.
Yeah, I mean that's an option with this. It could even go so far if you wanted it to. Apparently the back end of this system's all WordPress, but it's integrated with Dropbox plugins so that if I logged into my Dropbox with that, I could then designate a particular folder so that if I just change the contents of that folder, it just pulls it.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very clever indeed. I mean, that'd be really good for distributed signage, that kind of thing. But considering it's completely silent, they're not bad for recording audio either. Which I should probably just do a video of recording audio with Raspberry Pi.
Where my Pi is?
I don't know where yours is. You've got an old Pi 1, haven't you?
Yeah, first gen.
Still does a thing?
Yeah. Get out and play with it. All this talk of Pi.
Pi.
Pi. Oh.
Yep. Oh. I know we had a Pi 0 tucked away somewhere as well, but I can't remember. Oh, there we go.
Box things. I knew it was around somewhere. It is. Okay. It's even got an 8 gig card in it.
Huh.
Yeah, I remember it was one of these kits where you get loads of little like transistors and stuff to play with.
Oh yeah, and it's got loads of cables that can go off the GPIO pins.
Yep.
I remember
and a remote control.
Doing things like lighting up LEDs and stuff off those pins.
Yeah, and little clocks and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something on this 8 gig card and I can't remember. I feel like...
Oh yeah, yours uses full-size SD cards.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh, they've not done that for years.
Yeah, old school, man.
Yeah, mine's got 32 gig micro SD card in. Tiny.
Because I bought an Arduino with it as well.
Yeah. So an Arduino Uno.
Uno, yes.
Uno.
They're on like Quattro now, I guess, or something.
I don't know.
I need to play with this. If only I had the time to play with it.
Yeah, if only. But yeah, I'm getting more and more into the world of Linux. I'm actually sat in front of Ubuntu Linux right now, which for me is real fish out of water territory. I mean, I've messed around with Linux and I've worked with servers for a long time, but that's all command line based, and servers you're not usually doing nearly the same kind of workload that you are with a desktop.
You installed Linux on my old Sony Vaio, which broke it. You're like, I'll install Linux on it. It'll be fine. You installed it, and I was like, yeah, okay, great. Now the audio drivers don't work.
Oh, that's probably been fixed by now.
Maybe. Whether anyone, I don't. Maybe I don't know. I think it's something to do with the proprietary way that Sony wired in their audio things for those, because it's an all-in-one, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I found a flag, interestingly, because stuff like AMD and NVIDIA graphics cards don't work either unless you press certain buttons, which I found. And there's like enabling proprietary drivers. And when you do that, suddenly you can, install drivers that weren't available to you before.
Oh, maybe we should have a look then, because it's a really nice screen. It'd make a really cool, like, I don't know, like computer for the kitchen or something.
Yeah.
Because it's a big touch screen thing, isn't it?
I remember it.
Yeah.
I mean, if the sound's the only thing,
core.
I'm sure there must be drivers for it. I mean, Linux can run anything on anything.
I remember spending a good like day or so trying to sort it at the time and gave up eventually. I think to be honest, the solution wasn't too bad. It was plug it into a speaker, but it's kind of like that meant then having something else plugged in, and like the whole point of it was trying to have just like a single unibody thing without needing a keyboard or mouse because it was touchscreen.
Yeah. Well, it's all doable.
It is. It is.
And last but not least this week, I just got myself a new drum machine, which you saw a couple of weeks ago, the Arturia Beat Step. But who needs a Beat Step when you can use Microsoft Excel? Some absolute maximum nerd and massive props has made a drum machine in Excel, a proper pattern-based sequence where you press play pattern and it goes and plays all the drum stuff. Which
do you remember pinball in Word?
Vaguely.
You used to be able to play. There's a pinball game in Word in like the old like
tucked away.
97. So like it was literally like a Sega Mega Drive cheat code you put in, like a formula, and then it turned the whole thing into a pinball machine.
I think I kind of remember that.
It was fun.
I definitely remember Windows Pinball better than that, but
yeah. No, it wasn't nowhere near as good as that even. Excel 97. There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was... Oh, it uses Microsoft's GS Wavetable synth. Oh, but it can send MIDI data wherever you want. That's cool. So you can actually run a proper drum machine off this via MIDI. Let's just see if it... Yeah, so this dude... This is crazy.
So there's no velocity in this, I'm guessing.
Maybe? I mean... Anything's possible at this point. I mean, he's made lines on lines of code. Let's just see.
That is mental. Jesus.
Yeah, that's insane. So yeah, absolute props to this guy, Dylan.
I mean, it's
Dylan
cool, but like, why?
I'm guessing he's either a high school or college student, because when you've got time, the answer is why. The question is why not.
I mean, it's a pretty cool thing, I suppose, to bring up in an interview. If you don't ever done any interesting projects, yeah, I did this.
Plus, he's got 170,000 subscribers, so he's been doing this a little while. Yeah.
I'd rather do that for views than I don't know. You hear about the 17-year-old kid that used an aimbot in Fortnite on his YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, and he was crying, and his mother's like, "Oh, you shouldn't punish him." And it's like, well, he broke the rules.
He's a pro as well for FaZe. This guy is literally just ruined his entire career because he decided that. Yeah,
if a professional uses an aimbot, nah.
Yeah, just like literally just for one video. He doesn't use it, but in one video he's like, I'm gonna use an aimbot, it'll be funny. Decides to ruin loads of people games, got banned for life. And then interestingly, even Ninja's come out in his defense saying that because he's a streamer he deserves preferential treatment.
No.
Yeah.
So, no, because then you can just say, the rules don't apply to everybody.
I know.
Yeah.
But no, this is cool. If the answer is I did it for a video because it would be fun, also completely valid reason to do something as weird as this.
Yeah. Oh, someone in chat just said Linux is my go-to, and if Linux is doing Reaper, I can finally kick Microsoft into touch forever. Well, have I got news for you, my friend? If I go to the download page, Linux, Reaper, Linux x86, 64, right there. you can download it and install it. In fact, I have it installed on this Ubuntu setup right now. In fact, I'll be using it after this stream to convert this video file that I've recorded into MP3 and getting it straight on Spotify and iTunes.
Right, so can we run Reaper off a Raspberry Pi?
Yeah. Yeah, I made a video about installing it a while back, and I've been meaning to get round to doing a follow-up video. The downside is the plugins that I use don't work on a Raspberry Pi because it's a whole different processor architecture. But the internal plugins for Reaper all work perfectly because they're compiled.
You need to do some extreme mixing. Okay, you've got a little drum machine, you've got a Raspberry Pi, get a little mini monitor, and mix an album whilst hanging it upside down from the top of a mountain somewhere. I want to see some extreme mixing.
Oh, mix on a Raspberry Pi on a mountaintop.
And record. Actually, record, mix, and master. And upload.
And upload.
4G. Yeah, 4G.
I've got 100
gig data on my phone.
There must be a way to tether. Yeah, of course there's a way to tether a phone using the 4G, yeah.
Yeah.
I've
got 100 gig data on my phone.
I'd need a ridiculous power bank, but I could do that.
I've got like 3 or 4 power banks.
Oh, I'd need a more ridiculous one than any of us have got, because the Raspberry Pi alone takes like a 3 amp output.
We could do it.
Yeah, we can make it happen. I mean, just a little bit of research and just buying a crazy battery bank, we can do that.
Hey, if we can make a music video with a Google Glass and power that for a whole day, I'm sure we could do this.
Yeah.
Because that zaps battery at the time as well.
Yeah, I remember it baking my head as we were filming, because I had it plugged into the car charger the whole drive while we did that, because the concept of that music video was that it was the singer of the act wearing a camera or being the camera all day.
For a whole day. 24 hours.
And we massively sped up sections, of course. But yeah, that meant actually filming using this thing all day. And that was a lot. And the Google Glass was not designed for that, and it really got hot. And
yeah.
I'm surprised I've not got scars, because when the singer was driving, I put on the glasses as like a stand-in actor because I was in the passenger seat so that he could safely drive. And yeah, that was hot, and I'm surprised I haven't got a scar off that. The things we do in the name of media.
I know, right?
Yeah. Right, so
cool.
Next, we're going to move into the viewers' questions section. So get your questions ready in the chat. As we move into our viewers' questions segment, I wanted to mention briefly that we have an affiliate link with DistroKid. DistroKid can get your music published on iTunes, Spotify, and loads of other destinations within a matter of hours, if not days. If you want to publish covers, they can handle all the licensing stuff associated with that as well for $1 a month per song. If you use our link in the description below, you get a few % off, and we get a kickback off that. They're easily the best publishers we've used. I've got my own music online through them, and it was so much easier than anyone else I've used. So check out DistroKid now. So, viewers' questions. I'm just going to quickly log into DistroKid and put that in the chat. So if you want to look at the questions in said chat, and two-factor authentication. Yes, I did that because I'm clever, maybe.
So I can improve my does. I'll do that. Even oh, okay. No, that's just comments. Put myself on the back again. How long will it be before the software companies catch up to Mac Catalina update? Could we be waiting 3 to 6 months?
That's a good question. There's the DistroKid link, by the way. That really depends on how quickly and how agile each developer is. Catalina really has kind of screwed some developers over who've not been keeping pace. because basically with OS Catalina, they've done what I think is the right thing, for OS X at least. Basically, they don't support 32-bit now at all, and that included binaries and included runtimes and any moving parts of a program that were 32-bit now will just not work. And I think that's a good move because 32-bit should have died a long time ago. And it annoys me that Microsoft still do a 32-bit version of Windows at all because 32-bit processors haven't really existed in production for years. And it's just slowing everybody down because you're having to make your software for platforms that really shouldn't exist anymore. Anyway, it means that developers who've been really, really on the 64-bit thing for a long time now are having no problems at all. They're like a lot of programs I realized recently have a lot of little components that you wouldn't think you would need, and that are just when you compile your program, when it's all done, it includes all these things. And it could be something as simple as a text renderer, or like in Reaper or OBS's case, an MP3 codec, or any number of little things. If any one of them is 32-bit, in the past, they would have just carried on and just worked. Because the operating system went, oh, that's a 32-bit bit. Sure, okay, we support that. And now they don't. And so any programs that have any 32-bit things in them on OS X Catalina, it's just going, nope. And so that means that all the plugin manufacturers and program manufacturers are having to go back and comb through thousands of lines of code to make sure that they've not got anything in there that shouldn't be. And if they have, what do they replace it with? Is there an equivalent 64-bit version? If so, just switch it out. If there isn't an equivalent 64-bit version, then they have to find a workaround. So it really depends on how the developer's been working, what they've been working in. This is why Waves have just come out with version 11 of their software, which I'm imagining is entirely 64-bit through and through now. I don't think Slate have got there yet, but they're probably not far off. Sound Toys have just released the very last 32-bit software they're ever going to do. They announced that a couple of weeks ago. So we're getting there. But of course there's all the validation required as well, because Apple, good old Apple, don't give everybody nearly enough warning with the new software. And they don't give clear enough documentation, apparently. Either that, or it's just such an archaic system that a lot of the developers either don't develop anymore, or they're not big enough to be able to hire loads of developers to redevelop everything in 64-bit. You know, these lists can go on, especially when there's any open source or GPL licensed software included in your products, which is most products, let's be honest. They've all got something in there somewhere. Even if it's the most innocuous seeming thing, it's in there. So yeah, it could be a few months, it could be more than a few months. Some software may never be supported again. If the developer either gives up or has already given up. So yeah, it could be a little bit of a crunch time for the industry. But the benefit will be that from here on in, once it's fixed, development cycles should be faster because there's no 32-bit to check. Quality assurance and testing should be much better because, again, there's one more platform you don't have to check for. So, yeah, long term, this is going to be a good thing. It just means that we're in a tricky situation right now. Next question.
That's maybe it for today. You do a new video on live streaming since you've changed from XSplit. And what do you use to combine different audio sources in Windows? Voice Meter Banana.
Banana, yes. In Windows, I do use Voice Meter Banana, which gives me loads of separate inputs. In Linux, I'm actually just using OBS's inbuilt routing, which is a lot nicer than XSplits, I have to say. But yeah, I'll probably do a video at some point about OBS and how I'm using that as compared to XSplit, because it's much more configurable. I did spend.
Have you done a video on Voicemeeter Banana?
I don't think I have.
Because that can be quite good. Because
Yeah.
it's one of those tools that you either know about it or you don't. Like, it's even like one of the few audio tools that I told Adam about.
Yeah. Ba-ba-ba.
That'll be on my gravestone. I'm very happy about it. Because it's cool. It's really basic. It sounds like something you should just be able to do as well. It's like, why can't you just do this with your computer?
Yeah.
But yeah, adds a very cool, and it's easy to use and it makes sense. It's logical, I think.
Yeah. That's a thought, actually, that up and coming, I am going to be doing quite a few more videos, even all the stuff that I talked about at the very start. I've got a few videos planned, so I'm going to do a video about OBS, if I can, a video about Voicemeeter Banana, now that you've mentioned it, and I'm going to be doing a couple of videos. I've got one planned, which is, now that all the new Ryzen processors have been announced, I'm going to make a video specifically about PC builds for audio that all revolve around the newer Ryzen processors.
Cool.
And spec them out and put those specs in the chat, the description, if you will. And also, oh, come on, brain, you were nearly there.
Almost.
It's been a long day. Black Friday. I'm going to do a live video all about Black Friday deals and Cyber Monday deals.
Okay.
Because that is a good thing. Because everybody likes a cheap.
Indeed, they do.
This year I might even buy a couple of cheaps, depending on what cheaps there are. But a lot of the things that I was going to buy, I already ended up through hook or by crook with. So, like, I was going to buy the Arturia V collection on Black Friday, because last year they did a ridiculous 50% off deal. But it just so happens this year that I've been in talks with Arturia and now I have it. Which I am exceptionally grateful for, and I will be making a video on the V collection. If I can get that in the bag before Black Friday, that'll be great, because there probably will be a Black Friday deal on that. Because a lot of software, it makes sense for them to do deals, like, you know, the Steam sales and all that kind of thing. It makes sense for software people to do timely discounts, because the amount of money that they get from the discounts is significant. And, passive cooling for the new AMDs. The new AMD processors actually use relatively little power, so I would assume that anything up to a 95 watt mark should be quite easy to passive cool. I still use entirely passive cooling in the studio. I don't know if I actually have AMD mounts for the processor that I have, cooler that I have, but if I did, that's probably what I would use going forward.
Cool.
And yeah, Streamlabs OBS for the win. Not a big fan of Streamlabs OBS, actually, because Streamlabs make their own build of OBS that's got inbuilt loads of like overlays and that kind of stuff. Which is cool for gamers, I guess, but it means that everybody looks the same.
Not necessarily. You just customize it. If you don't customize it, you look the same. But you can customize all that stuff. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, but you could customize that without the Streamlabs version, which has a lower overhead.
Yeah, but then if you want to if you wanted to tie it into, say, like donations and stuff, or anything happening, say, you can easily hook it in with an API without doing any coding. Say, if we were to start selling t-shirts on the website, it can pop up midstream when someone buys a t-shirt and things like that. And you can then thank people while you're on stream for supporting the stream.
That's a point. I did have a Streamlabs overlay, and I will put that back on for next week. I only actually installed the browser source plugin, because apparently in Linux, the browser source is a separate plugin about 20 minutes before the stream. So, yeah, that'll be back for next week. But I managed to get the restream chat in the corner, which I'm very happy about, because I didn't think that I could manage it. And I did just before stream went live.
Sweet.
So, yes, we have done lots and lots this week.
Cool.
Because we've been so ridiculously busy, I've not actually got any new music to play for you this week. Sad face.
Womp womp.
Womp womp womp. But hopefully I'll be able to play you a couple of the drum things that I did with Code Drumheads next week, because they're all sounding truly fantastic. And so, yeah, Mike from Code, also from Drum Ed, which is a drum tuition YouTube channel, which, you know, Drumhead, his joke. So they've got material which we were using as well as stuff that I wrote, so I'll be able to play that next week. And so it's time to wrap this up. And this brings us to the end of this week's Hot Pole Position podcast. Once again, thanks to everybody who's tuned in live, 8 p.m. UK time, and thanks to everyone listening on Catch Up on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify. Thanks as always to our supporters on Patreon. You help us to keep doing what we're doing. More videos are always coming out on the YouTube channel, apparently. And they really, really will very soon. And keep an eye out, because usually at least one video a week is released. And we'll see you all here next week. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you 8 p.m. next Thursday. Goodbye!
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.